It's always going to get me. Yeah, there we go. Officially
right.
recording Higher Ed Dreamin 2022.
First official recording. Here
Oh,
we
yeah.
go.
They noticed the vest. Did you see
Yep.
that?
Yep.
Uh-oh. We got
We're
some flags.
we're excited. We're excited. All happy.
Yeah, we've got lots of people in this session. I'm really excited for this. I'm going to go ahead and start our Q&A. And Frank.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. Frank Montoya here, Arizona State University, co-host of the PodCACHE with Haley here. So just kind of remind everybody, the PodCACHE has been a little bit silent, but you know what we've been working on. You're here today. This is part of what we've been working on. Plus, unfortunately, as you know, the past couple years, there's been a lot of pivoting. So that's impacted us also. But we are glad to be back. We're going to consider this the kickoff to season 3. So our 2022 is starting off on the right foot. We're going to keep going in that direction. So I'm excited. I'll remind everybody, PodCACHE, CACHE, what does that stand for? Collective Advice for Higher Ed. Oh, wait, let me start all over. Collective Advice in CRM for Higher Ed. I get confused with the acronyms.
Yeah, no, you're good.
But we're excited. So Haley, go ahead.
Yes. And everybody, we're just so excited to have you here today. If we do experience any technical difficulties during this session, you might see some of us kind of refresh and come back in. But we want to make sure that you guys are feeling good and ready for the day. So I'm going to do a really quick intro of myself. Frank, have you introduced yourself yet and said what you do at Arizona State?
Not yet, but go first and then I'll follow suit.
Okay, let's do it. All right. So it's been a while since we've done one of these. I think almost a year, maybe.
Yeah,
but season 3 is going to be glorious. I just know it. So hi, everybody. I'm Haley Gould. I am the Director of CRM and Engagement Services at Smith College and a proud planning team member of Higher Ed Dreamin. I'm over in Massachusetts. My role here at Smith is really to lead our Salesforce team. I kind of play administrator and architect and project manager most of the time. And we just embarked on a really large project to go enterprise. So we have been working on advancement for a while, but are now going enterprise CRM, which is really exciting. How about you, Frank?
Oh, goodness. Well, Frank Montoya, Arizona State University. I am the senior product owner for the enterprise CRM implementation here at ASU. I also facilitate Salesforce's Center of Excellence, which is made up of multiple org owners. We are a multi-org school, so that's exciting, and that's working for us. So we're cool with that. I'm also part of the Higher Ed Advisory Council and part of this great Higher Ed Dreaming Planning Committee. So it's been a lot of fun. So I get to do all sorts of cool stuff today with Haley, and this is the first of many. But what else do you need to know about me? Yeah, so I enjoy. I've been at Arizona State University for almost 15 years. It'll be 15 years this summer. So it's good times.
Yeah,
so.
That's amazing. Just a note to you, Frank, I'm having some trouble getting the chats and stuff to load. So if you can let me know if there's anything good there.
Oh, okay.
We'll see.
Let's see. Yeah, Lindsay Plitt loves our vest.
Oh,
Thank you, Lindsay. And Dan Powell says nice. And I see some.
Hi, Dan Powell. I'm so excited for your session today.
Nick, you like our vest
too?
too?
Yeah, go ahead, Frank.
I said Nick likes our vest also. So.
Oh, well, so we're getting love on the vests. I'll tell my mom. My mom actually monogrammed these for Frank and I. Isn't that cute?
Thank you, Mom.
Yeah, thanks, Mom. So we've got a lot of good stuff planned today. This is probably the most informal session that you'll attend, and that's purposefully designed. This is just a getting ready pre-show type of opportunity. Oh, and I'm finally seeing the chat. Moms are great. My mom has her own little sewing business. Oh, she'll be so proud of me for talking about this. And she made these for us right before the last Dreamforce I attended in person. And so I think this is the 3rd time I have donned the vest. But it's always a good time whenever I'm hanging out with Frank. So
gotta wear the vest.
So I'd love to encourage you guys, keep doing stuff in the chat. This is amazing. We also have the Q&A open. So if you'd like to ask us a question, you can go over to the Q&A section. There's also a section if you go over to Answered, where you can see anything that we've already said. But feel free to ask us questions. We're just going to kind of keep that up and the chat up. Frank and I have a couple of things happening. Oh, Carrie Marcinkevich, you're wonderful. I'm seeing a question from you about our favorite Salesforce mascot. I'm going to upvote that question, and that's over in the Q&A of the chat. I'll answer this one first, actually. So Frank, I don't know if you have a favorite mascot, but I'll let you go second. My favorite one is Cody the Bear, and it's not because I'm a developer. It's just because he is the most huggable mascot of all of them. Like, I want to run up to him and give him a hug anytime I see him, especially the big inflatable one that's at Dreamforce that's like going like this. Frank, do you have a favorite Salesforce mascot?
Yeah, you stole my favorite. My favorite is also Cody, but you know, let me see here, who cannot love this little guy? So
I know he's got so many outfits. I think that's the thing about him.
Yeah. No, I love Cody. I love him. I have the Cody mug, and I have the Cody little bear, and he's just my favorite too. I just, he's a big teddy bear. That's
Oh, and Carrie even put the note in there about meeting the mascots. Yeah, that's fantastic. You know what we need? We need a PodCACHE mascot. That's what we need. I'm going to work on that. Oh, man. I am seeing so many familiar names and just all kinds of love in the chat. This is totally making
it's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So let's do our first question. Let's ease into this a little bit, though, Frank. Tell me a little bit about what you and your team are working on right now. And after that, after you answer, I'll answer, and then I'm going to ask Kathy Zimmerman's question that's in the Q&A about long-term Salesforce usage. So let's talk there. So the question: what are you or your team working on right now?
Oh, we've got a lot of stuff in the hopper right now, but right now we're really focusing on Zoom integration with Salesforce. That's one of our big ones. So bringing in Zoom data, right? Creating the campaigns and the events based on the event information from Zoom to create some campaigns so that then we can have the information we need to communicate with our prospective students via the Marketing Cloud, and leveraging that connected environment between Salesforce CRM and Salesforce Marketing Cloud. So that's a big one. I also want to share that I'm really excited because we've been leveraging some capstone students who are taking a capstone class. It's their senior year. And we've got a project with them going where they are, they're being mentored by, team leads here on the Salesforce team here at ASU, mentored so that they can come up with a recommendation for an architecture that supports form integration, requires workflow, creates cases, and routes, the appropriate cases to the appropriate functional groups. So Q&A can happen within, and those customers get what they need. So doing that, and then MDM's always big here. And graduate advisor portal, we have our own custom advisor portal, and it's right now focused on the undergrad advisors, and we're getting ready to duplicate that in some manner for our graduate advisors. So a lot going on.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you guys are busy at all.
No.
What do you do with your day?
Podcast.
Yeah, well, we definitely need to get back in the podcast group. I'm missing it a lot. So I'll answer from Smith, and then Frank, if you want to look at the question from Kathy, that's what's up next for you. So at Smith, we've got a lot going on as well. And obviously we're a lot smaller school than what Frank is talking about, but still lots of challenges and lots of things happening. It's sometimes just not the volume. Like, I'm always impressed that Frank's able to pull off what they do. Like, the volume, the sheer volume of what they're doing is crazy. But at Smith, we've had Salesforce for about 7 years. And so we've always been more focused on advancement, but not like the full advancement cycle. And we're finally breaking out of that. So we're working with a consultant, Huron Consulting, and I see Vince, and I think I saw Ryan a little earlier here in the chat. But we're working with them to really get up and running quickly and move into the next era for Smith, which is our enterprise project, starting with a focus on our alumni directory and mentorship programs, which is exciting. We're also bringing on about 150 new users over the next 6 months, all from different groups and units on campus, bringing them into Salesforce for the first time. So a lot of our effort is focused on training materials, getting their data into CRM, getting their emails out through Pardot. And that's what we've really been focused on. We did just complete, though. Oh, I just saw Nash in the chat. Nash, we miss you. We did also just complete a large implementation with Blackthorn Events as well, who's also one of our sponsors. So both Huron and Blackthorn both have booths in the booth tab if you want to go there. And what was I going to say about that? Oh, yeah, and they're wonderful, fantastic. Blackthorn's been going really well. We're moving off of Cvent and onto Blackthorn for events, which is pretty exciting. All right, Kathy, I totally agree. We want some questions in the Q&A. We're going to go over to that now. So, Frank, I'm going to read off this question to you.
All right.
See what you respond with. So Kathy said, Frank, is a school with long-term Salesforce usage, is there any big challenge that comes after year 10?
Well, hi, Kathy Zimmerman, or KZ. Thanks for your question. So, you know, from a long-term perspective, we've been doing Salesforce. Our implementation at an enterprise level happened in 2013. You know, the challenge is, it's not really a challenge. To me, it's just what you need to do, which is continuously evaluate where you are, right? Goals change, missions change. We came in thinking one org to rule them all, right? We decided that wasn't the right fit. So we've reevaluated several times and now are okay with having a multi-org strategy here at ASU, and it's working for us. So so the challenge is making sure that you kind of constantly evaluate, right? And modify your approach, your strategy with the CRM based on where you are in your growth of the university. So, and where your university is going. So we've done that. You know, one of the other things that happens is as you get more mature, maintenance of business and keeping the lights on becomes really important. And trying to balance that out with the resources that you have, and still trying to innovate and you know, be on the leading edge of certain things, that's a challenge. But so that's what I would say. Those are some things that always pop in my head, especially now that we've gotten more mature. Hope that helps, Casey.
Yeah, right. Casey, great question. And your chat too, that is a really great tip, right? Constant evaluation, being willing to change and duck and dodge, right, as you need, I think is really, really important. And we're struggling with that a little bit at Smith, right? Trying to do the new thing, the innovative thing, but support what we have. And so it's always, you know, something you really want to think about when you're planning resources or a project. You've got to keep the lights on. But how do you then move and shift and change to help bring on that next group? So all of that really resonated with me, Frank. That's amazing.
Carrie Marcinkevich. Hi, Carrie. Yes, I've lost plenty of hair, and what I haven't lost is gray. You can probably see it kind of shimmering there, but it's all right.
I mean, you know, I like the fact that you shimmer, Frank. It's good.
And the LBs come into play too, just so you all know. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah. Well, you know, Haley, I don't see any other questions, I don't think, but I'm going to ask you one. So tell us about a recent go live at Smith.
Ooh, you know, I'm going to talk about a really, really simple one. And it was like in the last year, so don't laugh at us. But I'm going to talk about one that seems kind of simple to us, but one that took a lot of planning and I think was really successful. So I started at Smith just about 2 years ago, almost exactly. And if you do the math, that means I would have started right at the start of the pandemic, which is like the absolute best time to pack up your family and move across the country is when there's a national pandemic. If you remember what grocery stores were like in March of 2020, imagine trying to move and hit up a gas station along the Ohio Turnpike. Anyway, I digress. The most recent implementation, or I should say a recent implementation when I got to Smith, was to actually move us to Lightning. And this was something that, you know, when I showed up, I was sort of surprised that we hadn't made the full transition yet. But when we started 7 years ago, that wasn't really an option. It wasn't really a thing. And so what we did is a lot of really careful preparation. We sat with customers, we tried to understand how they were using it, using Classic at the time, using Salesforce. We did a lot of persona mapping. We then took kind of before we had something like My Trailhead, which we just purchased. I'm really excited about that. We made something called an adoption quest, which was designed to get them onto Lightning in 10 days with just 10 minutes a day. And so that's really informed our training protocol for almost everything that we do. With Blackthorn, it was 15 days in a 10-minute video every day. So it's not like somebody has to go sit on a Zoom meeting for 3 hours to get training, right? They can do it at their leisure. And then those videos are there for them when they need to go back. So it was more about the training, maybe what I just talked about, but we did transition to Lightning. We actually turned off Classic, which, much to their chagrin, maybe was a little bit difficult for some of those folks. But yeah, like Matt from Blackthorn is in the chat right now. We just did that same process with Blackthorn, 15 days, 10 minutes a day. I think one of them was 15 minutes, and that was the Zoom integration. But it's really helped our customers move really quickly.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
What about you, Frank? I'm going to go look at the questions, but tell us about something you've been working on, like an implementation.
Oh, I'll just talk a little bit about what we've done with MDM. MDM for us was really important from the get-go. I think there's some folks on this session that know what I'm talking about. It really, we just as of last year started leveraging, right, the power of MDM and the power of being able to crosswalk data from one instance of Salesforce to another instance, because MDM is giving us some a unique global record. And so that's huge, especially since we are in a multi-org environment here, being able to, so we recently have been able to put functionality in place that allows a user in one org to render data from another org without signing in and out of their org or signing in and out of the other org. So just rendering that, real time, that architecture, that functionality, and the foundation for that was really the MDM. So that's exciting stuff. So I'm really proud of that one.
That's exciting stuff.
I'm
You
really
should be. I think that's a really key differentiator what you're doing over at Arizona State, honestly. And actually, there's a question that kind of relates to this from Jennifer. So I'm going to go ahead and read that out to you. I'm pretty sure they're talking to you because we don't have nearly this kind of issue at Smith. But I'll read this question out. Talk a little bit about data cleanup and data skew. Jennifer said that they have over 2 million contacts and they've started to have some issues there. How do you guys handle things like that? How do you do planning for storage, and how do you do that?
We have over 6 million contacts in one org. And their, performance is always an issue sometimes. I will confess that we are, one of the things that we're doing right now is putting in an archive strategy so that we can understand where we can remove some of those, delete some of those records in Salesforce so that it could minimize or it could free up some storage, some of the data storage. How quickly that gets eaten up, especially with all the records that we have in our systems. So we are working on an archive strategy right now to address that. And it's really just kind of putting business rules around it to determine, what is in the, what data do we not need anymore? Do we not need to take any, does not need to be actionable, right, in the system, and can be stored in the data warehouse for historical reporting purposes, for example. So it's a chore. We've done that with the Marketing Cloud. We've done some data cleanup. Folks on here that work with us administer the Marketing Cloud, and there was a whole effort to do some data cleanup and bringing StaffLog to help us do that. It's that maintenance of business that has to happen to keep you running, keep your performance, keep you at scale, et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully that worked. Haley, let's see, what else do we have out there? I think Haley, I'm going to ask. Let's before we switch gears to the pandemic question. Let's go with Haley. Want to share your favorite app, and if it's going to be part of your expansion on campus?
Yeah, well, I've mentioned a couple, so I'm gonna just say favorite apps. Blackthorn is amazing. We've been using that now. We've got 2 groups on it, plan to put everybody on events. Like we'll be transitioning off of Cvent and onto Blackthorn officially in the next year, which is exciting. Form Assembly, who's another sponsor here, has been a game changer. We just did a bunch of forms with an arrival process for students coming back on campus to bring them back safely. But my favorite app right now, just because we're really focused on project management, and this is actually not a sponsor of our event, is TaskRay. So those 3 are huge here for us. TaskRay is a really nice project management app. There's like a Gantt chart and a bunch of stuff. And as you're doing some of this like long-term planning and some of the program plannings I've been doing, a tool like that is a total game changer. And it's really cost affordable. You get 10 free licenses as a higher ed. Or as a nonprofit, I should say. So anyway, hopefully that was a good answer for you.
Yeah, good tips, good information. I'm glad you said Form Assembly because
yeah,
you heard me earlier say capstone students in that project.
Mm-hmm.
One of the evaluations they're doing is Form Assembly and looking at that technology. So I might send them your way. I've already sent them to Brian Karsinski, and now it's your turn.
Mm-hmm. So, would happily. Yeah, and just to give some love, I see my account executive, Earl Murphy, in the chat. Hey, Earl,
right.
Appreciate you. Frank looks like William Ford is saying that you were his first customer visit this summer after he hadn't traveled for a year. So you're getting some love in the chat.
Getting some love. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. One more question for you, actually. One from Dean Ernzin, a member of our advisory council. We'll see Dean on the screen a few times today. So he said, Frank, in addition to rendering data from other orgs, are you doing any 2-way integrations to update or create records based on updates in other orgs? I know you're doing a couple of things like that, right?
Great question. In fact, we're right in the middle of testing, I believe, the functionality that allows a user in one org to create a case in our org, our enterprise CRM org, whereas where we do all our case management, where our enterprise service cloud lives. So an enrollment coach, for example, in the Ed Plus org, where we manage our ASU online prospective students, should be able to, or will be able to in the very near future, generate a case, right? Get the information from their org. It then gets API'd over to the enterprise CRM org and auto creates a case and routes it to the appropriate functional group. And now that student or that enrollment coach gets the answers they need within, the SLA of, I don't know, I'll say 24 to 48 hours. So yes, we are able to, we have started doing that. We're in final testing, and if I'm not mistaken, to onboard a group to utilize that functionality.
Yeah,
it's fine.
So yeah, I asked in the chat who else had multiple orgs like you do, and Kathy Zimmerman, another higher ed advisory council member, said that Mason has a few. It looks like Dan from Dan Powell, who's presenting later from Florida State. He said they're trying to keep it to 2 right now, but they'll see. Yeah, building a center of excellence is always a little bit rough, but totally worth it. Definitely something that's good to invest in. Yeah. Great. Well, so it looks like we got about 2 last minutes here. So there is one question from Melissa, and I believe, Melissa, you're from the University of Miami, correct? She's asking about any tips for MFA enforcement, and I don't currently have any, but would love to accept others' tips. Frank, do you feel the same?
Yeah,
I mean, the tips, this is coming soon.
we know we've all gone through that, right? So
yes,
a lot of communication, honestly. And I'm not going to take credit for that. Our lead admin and our admin team has really been the one that's been at the forefront of working with the MFA requirement, making sure that we're prepared. But they've also been very instrumental in sending out the communication to our stakeholders, to our users, utilizing a Confluence page with what MFA means, what you need to do, what happens if you do X, Y, or Z. So just communication and documentation is what comes to my mind to enforce MFA. And also sharing in that document, right? This is what will happen, and this is what you'll need to do if you run into a problem. So exactly. Cool. All right.
Well, it looks like we're at time, but maybe we end with just one last question, 30 seconds over maybe. Are you okay with that?
I'm good. Let's do it real quick.
All right, I'm going to time us. This question comes from Carrie Otto, also a member of the Advisory Council, our new chair as well, and a member of the Higher Ed Dreamin planning team. So Carrie, we're going to end with your question. How have you kept your team and yourself sane during the churn of the pandemic? So Frank, over to you.
Oh, you want me to do that? A lot of family time. I'll tell you one of the favorite things that we did over the pandemic, and this was probably early on when everything was shut down. We got a big screen TV, we got a projector, and we did nighttime dive-in pool movies. And then we bought one of those uni pizza ovens that are hot, 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 and ate a lot of pizza in our backyard and watched a lot of dive-in movies. So yeah, that's what we did. Go ahead, Haley.
Sounds
What
like
did you do?
paradise in Arizona.
Yeah,
we've just been trying to be more active and get outside. There were a couple of weeks there where I was like, have I left the house in a while? So just trying to be more active and get outside. We're in a brand new state, started the pandemic in a brand new state of Massachusetts. And just, trying to explore and get outside as much as possible. It's hard to do that in the winter though. So if anybody has any good tips for me, send them to me in direct messages. I'd love those. Well, I think we are officially out of time, Frank.
We're good.
Let's just say thank you to all the people engaging in chat and Q&A. This was maybe my favorite podcast episode so far. But if you have any other questions or if you're struggling at all with Higher Ed Dreamin, there is a session coming up about how to navigate, narrated by yours truly. I'll join you over there in just a moment. You can also go to our booth by clicking on booths at the top of your screen and then going to the Higher Ed Dreamin support. We hope you go check out sponsor booths, join networking tables, and join us for the keynote, which will start just after 9 o'clock Pacific time in just a few moments.
Great.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you. Keep dreaming.